gentlemen, welcome to the Pop Art Hunter channel. Today we're going to be doing some framing, a framing of a few pieces that I am so pleased and so happy to get out of the binders and into some actual frames and displayed. As I've mentioned in the past, I don't like storing things really long-term in binders. I'm starting to get a bigger collection and I'm having to use some binders and it's not really my go-to, but, it's one of those things that's happening. But I'm happy to get these pieces out. So we're going to be framing the Goofy character model from Goof Troop, as well as Max, or Maximilian, if you would like to use his proper name. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and frame those two pieces. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the two pieces that we're going to be framing today are a Goofy from Goof Troop, and then also a Maximilian Goof from Goof Troop as well. So these are the two pieces we're going to be framing. But a couple of things about this that I'll show you is one, you can tell that there is some, well, maybe you can tell there's some 3M command strips that are on the side of this. And the reason that they're already on there is because I'm recycling this frame. I took out a piece of artwork because I wanted the UV protected glass that's on the front. I wanted this backdrop. I had just a sketch that was in there that, I can easily put in a portfolio. It's not going to get as much damaged and all those sorts of things. And so I decided to use this recycled frame instead. And I also have another frame that I have all the same setup, and I just went ahead and pre-set up. You can watch some of my other videos as far as more framing details where I get materials, unboxing of mats and things like that. However, this one does not have the 3M command strip. So first of all, what I'm going to do is show you exactly how I put the 3M command strips on, which may seem like a pretty easy thing to do, and it actually is, but I'm going to show you a little tip and trick that I use. So I always put at the very top of the frame, because typically they recommend that you put it at the top and then like, 2/3 down or something like that. Well, I like to, again, have this on my wall and be able to pop it off and pop a new one on in the same place every time. So instead of guessing or getting a measuring tape out, I just have this sticky notepad as a little jig so that I know what to do. So what I do is I line up the sticky notepad, and this is bigger than the typical sticky notepads. Some of them are a little bit smaller, and you can use anything. It doesn't have to be this. It could be a piece of cardboard. It could be whatever you want. But I line this up, and then I make sure that the bottom of the adhesive side of this is right in alignment with that sticky notepad. So I make sure that this is lined up with that, and I press down, and there we go. So because I'm using this, and I always have these pads around, I really like them, I use them for various things. Because I always have those around, I always have a quick and easy method of lining these up exactly. And I know it seems a little bit silly, it's kind of a rudimentary, not very scientific method of doing things, but it works for me, and it's consistent every time, and I can now easily go to any 13 by 19 frame in my home. I can pop it off the wall, pop a new one on, and it is in alignment right there. So that's how I do that. And so I'm just going to leave the other sides of those on. And the other thing about this, as I mentioned in many other videos, is you actually save. So I went ahead and I just had those paired already. But because I have them on the exact same places, if I go to the wall and I pop a frame off, I already have these on the wall in that exact location. So, I mean, that's nice to just pop them back on the wall, but it's also nice because you're saving these command strips, which are not necessarily cheap, especially if you're buying them in the hundreds and hundreds of them because you have so many things around your wall. So when you're doing a new frame, you can literally just put on 4 of the command strips and you are ready to go for wherever you want to put them in your home. So let's go ahead and get started with this. We are going to start with the Goofy cell, because there's something about that I'm going to do that I typically don't do, and I will tell you exactly why. So let's go ahead and grab this, and I'm not wearing gloves for this. I'm just going to use the corners here. I'm not too worried because there's a little bit of staple damage and some other things of these. So condition-wise, it leaves just a tish to be desired with some of this, and so I'm just going to try to line this up the best I can to get most of the damage out of the way. Now, I'm going to actually tape this down. And it's going to not be very much difficult to do. But one thing I'm going to do with this particular cell, I've decided that I don't want to have any of the paper that came with it. So this one came with paper that actually lists the various colors that are on, this Goofy model and what colors they would use within the paint shop. Well, it kind of overlaps with his figure, and I'm not really much of a fan of that. And so I'm not actually going to use the paper with it because I want the white backing that I use to be consistent with the white backing that's going to be on the Max cell, because the paper that's with the Max cell is not the same as that. It doesn't have any notes. It's not the same color, etc., so on and so forth. One moment, I forgot one thing. I will be right back. I was missing a second mat that I wanted to add to this because I don't want this to be touching the white background. So I wanted to make sure that I grab that. So I've got this taped down with a couple pieces of tape. I'm going to add a couple more pieces at the top, not too worried about the bottom. A lot of people will use this hinged approach that they will put tape on the bottom and just let it free hang. I do like to secure the sides a little bit because this is some archival quality tape, and it doesn't have as strong of adhesive on it, and so I like to make sure that it doesn't just come off at any point there. And so, okay, we're going to go ahead and put this back on here, and then what I'm going to do is just show you what this would look like if I did mount it with this particular piece of paper, so you can see why I'm choosing not to. So as you can see, that the color notes are kind of overlapping Goofy. Now, I could go ahead and move those over and put them in a spot where maybe they won't overlap, which I'm thinking maybe about there-ish. It might be where they don't overlap too much. I can have it where it's sort of in between there, but it's still not going to look very good. And the paper quality is wrong. It doesn't match. It's something there. It doesn't really match what else is going on. And once I get the Maximilian one framed, they're going to look stark difference between those two pieces because the paper will not be the same. So I'll just put a couple of these tabs down, flip it over, we'll make sure it looks okay. Look at that. It's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty. So let's just go ahead and put these tabs down real quick. Okay. That's good to go there. So this one is done. So I will keep this sheet handy. I will go ahead and put it in a portfolio. I'll put a little note on it that is for this particular Goofy cell. If I ever sell it in the future, I can pair it with that and sell them together. But again, for framing purposes, I want these to be a little bit more consistent. So let's go ahead and move this one into frame here, and we'll get this out of the way, and then we will compare them when we are all done here. So we got one mat there. We got that frame, we got the backing, we got the frame. So one thing we want to make sure we do is get this into orientation so that the 3M strips are in the same way. I've done that many of times where I already have 3M strips, I'll repurpose a frame and then it's upside down. And so I'm just going to make sure that that looks good there. Kind of touch that on the edges a little bit there. Put that there, line it up a bit. That looks pretty good. And put a couple pieces of tape and we'll be good to go. So this is a pretty easy framing job, but I wanted to show exactly how I use that sticky notepad as a jig for putting on the 3M command strips to show people. Some people have asked exactly how I do that or what I use to measure how far down I put it. And again, it's not a scientific measurement on the packages. I think, again, it says like, 2/3 down the frame or something like that to hold the weight. These are also not very heavy, so I'm not worried about the weight. I just like that consistency. And I do have a piece with 5 or 6 mats in it that I have to use a pliers to get the little tabs down. And it's a little bit heavier that way. It'll still be able to hold it because it's got those 4 things. So I always recommend having at least 4 strips just to maintain the integrity of the hanging so that it doesn't fall apart. So we'll go ahead and put this on. Always flip over and double check. Just close a couple tabs, flip it over, make sure that it looks okay. And it does look okay. Yeah. I was looking at the Max at the very top. I thought, well, it's a little bit close to the top, but there's not much we can do about that. There's not a lot of extra room up there. So let me go ahead and close these up. We'll look at these side by side, and we'll be good to go. I'll be ready to pop them on the wall, and because I have the 3M strips on there, I will just be able to take something off the wall, pop these right on, and we'll be good to go. So we'll go ahead and take a look at these. So yeah, I think they look really good. And next to each other, I think they're going to be 2 solid pieces. The layout is a little bit different. This one has Goof Troop as a logo. This one does not. So what I'll probably do is instead of a side-by-side, I'll do a top and bottom. So it'll kind of look like a progression. Like here's one piece, there's Goof Troop, and you can kind of read the character stuff. And then once you get down to this, it's almost like a header on a Microsoft processing Word document or something like that, word processing Microsoft Office document, where you can see the header and then it kind of flows and this is the next part of that. So you almost like your brain will fill in this header onto this one, I believe, in my opinion. So yeah, I think they look great and I'm glad to have them framed and out of the binder because again, you know how much I don't like to leave things in portfolios for too long. So yeah, I think these pieces turned out great. They're going to look great on the wall. I'm not really sure in the future if I might do something with the backgrounds, just create sort of a gradient background or something like that to sort of accompany the piece to make it look not just like, you know, character on white background. But then again, I mean, that's kind of what it's there for, is just the character. So I'm okay with that character being isolated. But I might decide to switch it up or try some different things and see if I like it a little bit better, or at least put some sort of solid background to match the color scheme of the particular area of my home that I have it displayed in, or, you know, the other characters or something like that. So we'll see. I'm not sure yet. But right now I'm happy with the framing job as is. It wasn't a really difficult frame. It was more of a simple process. I have some other framing jobs that I've done in the past that were maybe a little bit more intricate, and so you can always check those out, whether it be a longer, broad piece like a pan with original background and multiple cells and all those sorts of things, or if it's just a multi-cell setup and you're just trying to line things up. So check that out. I'd also like to hear your comments about how the things that you're framing are going, or if you have questions about framing. These are just the methods and ways that I do it, but I'm sure there's better options out there, and I'd like to learn from you as well. So like, comment, subscribe, and all those sorts of things. Watch all our other videos, and we will see you next time right here on the Pop Art Hunter channel.